Hello, welcome to my basic class for Visual Basic. How basic is basic? I know, great joke. In this class right here, we're going to explore the very beginning basic language. Visual Basic itself is an amazing language. It's derived, built through the years. I mean, I remember starting in Basic on Apple IIgs in the '93. Then I wrote QBasic, then Visual Basic, and then all the way up to what we got now, the Visual Basic with the .NET platform. Um, in in this one, we'll go over some basic math routines, basic plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication. Then we'll do some string stuff, such as how to declare a string, how to concatenate a string to another one, how to use the console to write strings, how to use the console to read data and write it back out. So in this one right here, we're basically just going to use the console and show you some basic ways to use Visual Basic. We also in this one, I also would like to go over how to the Eliza Doctor program. Eliza Doctor is a program that we wrote. We first started writing on in 1993. When I first started writing, it was pretty much the first program that I actually got to write. And now Eliza Doctor is pretty much just the computer asking you questions and you answering questions. So essentially, like what your Amazon, your Echo Dot, Alexa does for you now, or Siri does for you now, is the same premises as what Eliza Doctor originally was. And we're actually going to do something like that in Visual Basic. So here we go. Let's start. All right. So very basic. What I did was start. I did a file, new project. I clicked on Visual Basic. Let's see if we can do it. Visual Basic, Windows Classic Desktop, Console app, and make sure you name it, and then hit OK, and then you come to here. So the first one we have is Module 1, and this is set up to read and to use a console to display everything. So what we're going to do is set up first our mathematics with integers. So in Visual Basic, the word dim is our best friend. Dim pretty much tells the compiler to get ready to declare a variable. So dim and then the variable name, in this case we're going to use A, and then the word as, and then the type that we want, integer. So in this case we want integer. So we're going to dim A as integer. So now the console, the compiler is going to say, okay, well A is now an integer. So whenever I call A, it'll say, yes, it's an integer. We know that. So, but now the console is going to tell me something over here. Visual Studio says it's unused. It's an unused local variable. So we got to fix it. So how do we fix that? So we actually have to assign a value to A on start. So equals 0. Now we're telling the console, we're telling the compiler that A equals 0. A is an integer and it equals 0. So let's go ahead and change that to, say, 5 for fun. And let's do the next line. Let's go dim b as integer, yep, equals 10. Right. So now a is 5, b is 10, and let's dim c. So dim c as integer, right, equals 0. That's fine. So let's do some basic mathematics, and we're going to actually use c as the container for the end results. So basic math that we can do in Visual Basic. Of course, plus, minus, and addition, subtraction, and multiplication. We'll do that all here. So we're gonna go C equals A plus B. Very simple. Another one is C equals A times B, and C equals A minus C. I know I did it really wrong. That's all right. So we'll actually fix that here. So now, in this case right here, we're just changing C to equal the product of the mathematical equation after it. So we'll actually do one more. Now all we're doing is we're changing C. We're just using C as a container, and we're changing it each time. So what we want to do is, if we run it now, it's literally going to do nothing for us. It's going to compile the project and come back and say, done. So, wait a minute. Why? Duplicate declaration? Oh. That's why. Sorry, that was my bad. That's some notes I had from before. All right. So now, bam. Now that's all it does. It just starts. It goes from the just goes through it and it exits out. We don't see anything. So we're actually going to use console. We're going to actually write it to the console. So this way here we can see some output. We're going to write it at each individual point. So we'll use the term console. So console dot write line, and then we're going to write C here. But we're going to give it a little bit of a better thing. We're going to create a string, which is double quotes. Then put A plus B equals. Then come to the end and hit the and. In a string, the and symbol means concatenate something to the end of the string. We always use that when we're going between a string and a variable. So in this case right here with C, I can't just put C here because it's telling, okay, well, console write A plus B and then just variable. We're not saying and C. So we're going to say and C. So now what that's going to print is that on that line it's going to print A plus B equals and then whatever C's value is at that time. So we're going to copy this, going to paste it down here, paste it down here, paste it down here. I love the Control Z key, which is go back. I always use it. It helps me whenever something goes wrong that I don't want to go wrong. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're saying console write A plus B equals C, A minus B, and then C, A times B, C, A divided by B, C. This is cool. Now the problem with this right here, when I run it, it's going to go really fast and then go away. I don't get to see it. So in this case, we use a console.read, right? And console.read tells the console to stop and wait for a key and wait for somebody to hit something. Wait for a key input. So now when we run it, it's going to stop and wait for us. Oh, that's great. So now, very, very good. What ended up happening here was we see A plus B equals 15, so 10 plus 5 equals 15. We see 5 minus 10 equals negative 10, which is really weird. Okay, so yeah, 5 minus 10 equals negative 10. Sure, that should actually be negative 5, but that's okay. Unless A lost its value, but no, A is still the same. And then 5 times 10 is 50, then 5 divided by 10 equals 0. If this is actually really good here because C is an integer and 5 divided by 10 should be 0.5, but because C is an integer, a whole value, it will not show us decimals. Now, let me show you how to do it so that we can see 0.5 here. It's a little bit different. We're actually going to use a D value to show 0.5 because D is going to have a different type. So in this case right here, we're going to go dim D as double equals 0.00, right? And now if I actually change this C to a D, and then I display the D right here, when I run it, now you see 0.5 because the double value allows for decimals where integers only are whole numbers. So now it's on the console read point where I hit the enter key, it'll go away. Now it stops. All right. So this is very basic how to use integers and numbers, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We use this a lot. We'll end up using this an incredible amount in programming because there's a lot of math that needs to be done and in the case where we have really big numbers, if we do like this, and then B equals that, Control Z, sorry. I told you Control Z is the savior. And we put it right here, we're going to see those values all change, and we have absolutely no clue. Yeah, actually, an overflow exception occurred because this times this equals what we call a big integer. A big integer cannot be handled with a standard integer. We actually have to declare it as a whole different variable. So let me cut back on the amount of numbers here. All right, so we actually have to stop it. I'm going to delete all of these wonderful numbers, and there we go. Now you're going to see that to do some pretty complicated math, which A still becomes A minus C, that's why. Sorry, A minus, yeah, the A minus B. That's why we're getting 0. That's why we're getting negative 10. Because, all right, now here we go. Now we're going to see that to do some very, very complicated math, this computer just did it in like 0.001 second compared to us having to take a lot of time with pen and paper, which sometimes we still use, or a calculator and do it ourselves. So we use multiplication, addition. We use basic math and programming in just about everything we do. That's used a lot. So, all right. So I'm going to actually show you how to work with some strings now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end sub, and I'm going to sub int stuff, right? So all I'm doing is just by subbing it off, I'm creating a subset or a sub function, and just saying that, okay, just sub this off. Now when I run it, it won't run this code unless I actually call it here. Now if I call it here, this will run that bit of code, where now I won't run it. Now we hit F5, you see it just comes and goes away. That's cool. So now what I'm going to do is do some string stuff. All right, so let's do some basic strings. Let's dim a as string equals, and now of course we have to declare it because it's a string, so we'll declare it as hello, right? And then dim b as string equals world, right? All right, so a is hello, b is world. Let's go ahead and just print those out to the console. Let's just use console.writeLine. Very, very fun. A, right? And then let's do the same thing for b. And then, all right, so now we're going to use the console. Actually, you know what? I'm going to come down here and copy this because I don't want to type right now. All right, cool. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to stop it. It's going to say hello and world. So now if we hold this next to the code, we're going to see A is hello, B is world, print, write line A, write line B. Now, all right, so we want to get them on the same line so they say hello, world with a nice space in the middle. There's two different ways we can do it. We can do it the really hard way, or we can do it the really easy way. Let me show you the hard way that takes a lot more work, and it's not as effective. So if I use console.write, and I put A, and then I use console.write and a space, and then console.write and B, and then I just put a read. I take this read, move from here down to the bottom. We're going to see that it says hello world with the space. Okay, well, it works. It works because what we're doing is, this is write line. So what write line's telling it to do is it's telling it to essentially do this. It's going to write hello and then use CHR10 and CHR13. CHR13. So control line feed. And control line feed, if any of you guys ever use typewriters or remember what typewriters are, or even know what typewriters are, you remember that little button that you go bing, and the thing went all the way back to the beginning. And as you type, you have to hit enter, and it would go all the way back to the beginning. Well, that enter key is what we call control line feed. So you'll even see where it says enter, and it shows you the arrow pointing down. It means go back to the beginning of the line. That's all it does. Is in computer language, is it sends the computer a control and then a line feed, and that control line feed will bring it all the way back to the beginning. So that's what write line does. Is it says write all this on one line and then hit enter afterwards. Then give it a new line, and then same thing here. The console.write doesn't have the line piece at the end, so it literally writes that string. So if I was to actually come down here and I was to go, all right, and I was actually change this to console.write A and B, right? Actually, better yet, let me do this a better way. A, and then copy that, and I come down here and I write B, right? And let's just comment this out. Control XC. All right. And now when I run this, it's going to show us that it's all together. And why is it all together? Because I said write A and then write B. Up here I said write A, space, and then B. So the space came from here. Now, there is a better way to do it. And this is the way that we find ourselves doing a lot of the string stuff that we do. The way that I like to do it. Why won't you let me comment that out? Oh, because it's running. Right. So the way that the best way to do it in the industry is we use the word console again, console.write, and then we do a, and then the and for concatenation, a space, quote, 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 space, quote, and then then b. So what we're doing is we're saying in one line, write all three of those into one line. So now when we run it, we're going to see hello space world. So that's basically how to use strings, how to build a string, and then how to display a string into a console. What we're going to do is we're going to actually take this concept a little bit further, and we're going to do essentially an ELIZA Doctor program. So let's end sub here, and then sub string stuff, right? Cool. Now, let's create a very basic ELIZA Doctor. So ELIZA Doctor, as I said, the concept behind it is to, first off, greet the user, and ask the user a question, get the user's input, and then think about it and display the right answer. So, very, very basic start. This is the very first one that I ever wrote in, 1993, almost 30 years ago. A long time ago. So, first off, we're going to start off with the basic greeting. So we're going to go dim greeting equals as string equals, if I can spell, equals hello. My name is ELIZA Doctor. Right? I'll probably end up getting sued for this one. So let's change the name from ELIZA Doctor to J Doctor. Dr. J, yeah. All right. So the greeting is, hello, my name is Dr. J, and then we're going to actually want to use a string to say what is your name. Dim. So there's another way that we can do this. We can use the console.write function. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. So forget about the string. Let's go console.write hello. My name is Dr. J, right? And then, so that's going to be right line. Let's do right line. Hello, my name is Dr. J. All right. Now, the next one that we want to do console.write what is your name. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to ask them what's their name, and then we're going to wait and take their input in. So, how do we do that? We just do this right here. We do input equals console.readline. And what this is going to do is this is going to turn input into whatever they type. Right? So, then say it prints out, hello, my name is Dr. J. What is your name? And then wait for their name. So now they're going to type in, my name is Sally or something fun like that. And then we're going to turn around and go the basic response, right? Line, hello, and then input, whatever they put. So I'm going to actually write line here. So now let's go ahead and run this one. We're actually going to put a console read at the end to stop it. And we're going to run this one. Let's see what we get. Okay, so it says, hello, my name is Dr. J. What is your name? I'm going to put Sally, right? Hit enter. Hello, Sally. Very, very basic. Let's run that again. And now we're going to change it to Rob. Hello, Rob. So very, very basic, question, answer, regurgitate, answer type of program. Now that we know how to get input, how to gather the actual data from the user, what we're going to do is we're going to ask another question to the user, and then we're going to do a little bit of thinking around it and figure out what the correct response is. So let's say the question that we're going to ask is, how is your day? So console.writeLine, how is your day, right? And then we're gonna actually grab the input again. This time we don't have to dim it because it's already been declared. You declare the actual variable once, and then you just reuse it. You don't have to worry about declaring it multiple times because you can just reuse it over and over again. So The first one's going to be, hello, my name's Dr. J. What is your name? And then they're going to type in whatever. We're going to say, hello, whatever. How is your day? And then they're going to type in a statement. So now we're going to actually take what they said and try to figure out what they said and then a proper response for what they said. So we're going to use what we call an if then else statement. So here we go. If input equals good, right? Good, then console dot write line. Good. Okay. Glad to hear you had a good day, right? And then else, if else, console, console dot write line. Sorry you did not have a good day. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is gonna stop it. So now it's gonna say, what's your name? I'm gonna put John. It's gonna say, hello John, how was your day? Good. Glad to hear you had a good day. Okay, let's run it again. I'm gonna say, John, bad. Sorry you did not have a good day. So now let's take a look at the program as it's actually running. So we'll step right through this. So we're going to run it, and we're going to use F10 on our keyboard to step through. The first one, let's take a look at the window. It says, hello, my name is Dr. J. Then we'll step through the next one. It says, what is your name? And now we're going to wait for input, and then they're going to put their name in. And then over here on the program side, we're going to see that input now becomes their actual input, J. By hovering over input in the debug session, we can see what the value is. So now we see that the console is going to say, hello, J. And now we'll come back here, and we're going to actually see that, F10, sorry. It says, hello, J. Now, how is your day? And now back here, we're going to put good. And this is actually where this magic happens, because now that input is good, if input equals good, then, so F10, then do this. And then go ahead and read line. Now we're going to see if you had a good day. Cool. All right, so that's the basics, the basic ELIZA Doctor and the basic how to gather data from a user and then determine it. Now, let's go one small step further and let's define a couple of other possibilities. So, if good equals glad to hear you had a bad day, else if input equals, say, bad, right? Bad, then console dot write, sorry your day was bad, right? So now we just add if it's good, let's write glad you had a good day. If it's bad, else if it's bad. So if this one is true, we won't operate the rest of them. So we're going to go from top to bottom until we hit the truth, with the else statement being the catch-all. So if none of these are good, this is the catch-all. So we'll see. We'll actually take a look at this one running at normal speed. So let's go ahead and do this. And we're going to see that we have, what's your name? I'm going to put J. How's your day? Good, right? Glad to hear you had a good day. Run it again. J, bad. Sorry your day was bad, right? Okay, and then come over here. Let's run it one more time. J, MYOB, right? And it says, sorry you did not have a good day. So sorry you did not have a good day was a catch-all because MYOB, it didn't understand it. One other thing that we have to understand about programming is that when we use literal comparisons, what we call a literal comparison, we're actually comparing literally the string to this string, meaning that if there's a space in there, if one of the letters is a capital, if there's a control character we can't see, that the value becomes, well, the comparison becomes false. So if I say, and I'll show you, if I say input equals good with a capital G, this is false. So let me show you what I mean by that. It's a little bit easier to see it. So, hi Jay, how's your day? And I'd go, good. And now we're going to see that if input equals good with lowercase g, then it's going to do its thing. But because we have capital G, it skips over it. It says it doesn't match, which it doesn't because they use the capital G and we're looking for all lowercases. One of the simple solutions to this is always format the input string. If it's not a password and not something where capitals do make a difference, generally in passwords, I say literal password, literal string. So if your password is J123 with a capital J, and you type in lowercase JAY123, I'm going to say, no, you're wrong. So, no. In that instance, I care about capitals versus lowercases. In this one right here, we really don't care. So what we actually do is we'll convert the whole entire string to a specific case, and then we'll compare it. So what I'll do is this right here. Is generally right here I go input equals L case, which is lowercase, input. If I wanted to uppercase it, I use U case, input, and that converts the string to an uppercase. So what we're going to do is we'll take a look at this one as we run it. So it's J, and then over here, let's just go ahead and continue to run this. Go good, right, with a capital G. And then it says, glad to see you had a good day, right? So we actually need to put this down here so you can see it. Give me a sec. Maybe just rerun that one. So J, and good. Now, we're going to see that right now, good is a capital G, but when we go one step down, we converted it all to lowercase. So now we're able to say that all of our testing and all the data that we're testing against has got to be lowercase. So this right here, now because we've converted their capital G to a lowercase g, good is actually good. So it's completely true now. Now we're able to go on and says, glad that he had a good day. So that's one thing to remember about the if statement is that it is a literal comparison. So you have to kind of massage the data coming in to fit whatever you want. Now, there's one other way to be able. There's a little bit more of a technical way, and in some cases, I personally like this one. I think this is a better way to compare your strings. It's a little less confusing than the if then else statement because you can have if, else if, else if, else if, else if, and then ifs within else's, and it turns into just this whole like if clutter, and it gets to be a little bit confusing to read. So what we do in this case is we use what we call a select case, and we'll say select case input, and then case good, right? Then actually what we're going to do is going to write this, and then we'll have another case bad, right? And we'll write this. Essentially, this is doing the same thing as what was done up here. Then with the case else, right? So case else there, and then that. So this is doing the exact same thing as this up here, except for it's allowing the computer, instead of doing this else if, else all the way through, it's using a select case. Which one is better? I personally like the select case because I think it looks less messy. To me, it's a lot neater and easier to read. To others, they may tell you that the if then else statement is better and easier to read, but it's all in your taste and it's all how you write it. I mean, one good way to write this is to, instead of actually doing inline coding, we create subs for each one of these right here, and then they call the sub and they pass the sub the value, so it's not as confusing. That's getting into functions and subs, which we'll get into in another course later on how to use functions and subs to benefit your code. For this case right here, we wanted to just keep it nice and simple and just a basic hello world program. Hello world over here, and then a basic ELIZA doctor program with just very, very simple output, input type of deals, and then reading the input and then understanding the input. Now, when we turn this into, if we turn this into a web page, think about it this way, as the input being whatever they type into a text box, and then when they click the button, we then process that button right here. So we say, what did you put into the text box? Let's make it look good to where we can understand it. Let's process it, and then let's spit something out. Username, passwords are done basically on the same way. So that's pretty much, this is pretty much how the basis for gathering data from a user and responding to whatever the user put in. So that's really our project for today. The code is available on this class right here. So go ahead and download the code. You're going to see class 1 DB is in there. This is just a holding spot for some of my notes. Feel free to comment or send me an email or whatever you want, ask any questions. If you have any issues with this, please let me know, and we'll go ahead and we'll go over it, and we'll talk about it all. But that's it. Stay tuned for another class.